class in the Sangapore AY. Then my master guide and I'm a graduate, Comano AY, I had my passion now. When I was in a take for myself, no time is a young, time is and train in my lower classes.
Okay, so there are some who don't attend AY activities, and yet they are qualified and they are supposed to be helping. So there are so many different reasons. Yes, I'm sure there is another hand there. Yes, please. It's your turn.
Yeah, I'll speak. Chichio.
Sure.
Now is Zina, Zimaringira, so Timiri Zodi, family line ya watu. Bambanga ni master guide, manga ni master guide, brother anga ni master guide, wana sister anga ni master guide. Ndiye mwina ma decisions amene ndikupanga mnyumba muja. Ine ndikafanya my ideas zanga. Ndi class explore kabila mwina ndi guide. Au nina kuti akhala jiti yoyo. Uza unabe ukazafika jani master guide. Ndi ambiri mwayiwa mapanga master guide chifori kwa uso kuti jani so. Master guides kujolinga wena azibalansana akamapeleka my ideas unyumba kwao. Zimenezo pangisa kuti akabwera kuyewayi asamaka interest ya chimene iwo anaphunzira.
Okay, so there is lack of interest as well. Yes, MG at the back.
Thank you. As my colleagues have already mentioned, I think a number of the reasons. I just want to suffice the other one, which is, I think, the lack of resources. I think previously the resources actually were scarce. It's like we couldn't find most of the resources. So some of the leaders previously, they used to teach from their own notes, not like the actual resources that the youth department is able to have. The other area I wanted to mention is most of the master guides actually started maybe from guide. Even some even as of now, maybe they're starting from master guide, less from the ground or from the scratch, actually just reaching to master guide or guide. So they don't have the full information or the background that can actually maybe they can impart to their friends or some of the youth. Thanks so much.
Thank you. So as we can see, there are various reasons. Sorry, I'm just going to cut it a little bit short. But all in all, what we are saying is that there are so many reasons as to why some people are not ready to teach. For some, it's because they feel that they are not skilled enough to teach. Some feel that they are not talented enough. Some lack interest, and there are so many reasons. But now, we are saying that while others have got a talent to teach, others teach as a result of learning how to teach. So what we want to do is to make sure that in our clubs, everybody is able to teach, whether it is through a natural talent or they gain that skill through learning. We still need those people to be able to teach. Now, somebody said, I don't know who it is, but somebody said to teach is to touch a life. Is that true? What do we mean? When you teach a child, you touch their lives in many different ways. You can either build a child up through teaching them, or you can destroy their lives through by the way you handle your classes. We have children who are coming from different backgrounds and who go through a lot of different things in life. We don't know what they go through. So make your class one that will touch their lives in a special way, that they see Christ. know that sometimes a child comes into the class, probably the smile they get from you is the first smile that they have ever had that morning. Probably it's the first hug that they ever had since last Sabbath. Depending on where they are coming from and how the people they are living with treat them. So in whatever way we treat our students in class, it should be in a way that preaches Christ. Am I right? Now, when we teach our children, like I said, we are touching a life. Our aim is to touch a life in a special way. How can we do that? We'd find that, I'm sure most of us, we have children in our churches who don't come for Pathfinders. Am I right? Or maybe it's just in my church, where you have some children. We've got many children. Maybe in that church we've got 100 children, but maybe only 60 come for Pathfinder activities. The other ones don't come. Do we have those situations? Why do they not come? We just say, these hours, and we leave them like that. That's what we do. Do we make follow-ups as to why they are not coming? Do we care enough? Yes. He says sometimes we're just repeating the same things over and over again, and they end up bored. Am I right? That's why some don't come. Any other reasons why some children don't come for our Pathfinder activities? Leaders, yes.
Some is just because of their discouragement from their parents.
Okay, parents discourage them.
Yes.
Why would a parent discourage a child from AY activities?
Normally, most of them, they say, they believe that AY is something which is childish and something that can contradict with school. So they say, no AY, you better finish your school, then you can do your thing.
Okay, so in other words, they are not seeing value in our activities, isn't it? Yes, any other? Yes.
Sometimes we are many
So sometimes it's the way we are handling our activities, so they lose interest. So basically what I'm hearing from you is those children who don't come, basically don't have interest because of some reason. It could be from the parents, it could be from our activities, it could be from themselves, but generally the interest is not there. Why? It could be because of the way we handle our classes. And the way we handle our classes determines the interest that a child will have in our activities or in our classes. If the class is boring, do you think next time they will want to come? They might not want to come. And the main reason is because we as teachers, somebody said that sometimes we repeat over and over the things that we have taught several times. Why? Because we are usually unprepared for our lessons. So the answer is in preparedness. We have to be well prepared for our lessons. Now, I would like you in pairs to quickly discuss why it's important to be prepared for your lesson. Is it important at all? Yes. Why? So in pairs, discuss the importance of preparing for a lesson and how a teacher can prepare for a lesson. Just quickly do that with the person seated next to you. And I would want an answer from each pair. Discuss at least one point that you can give us as a pair. Right, I'm sure we're done. Right, I said just 1 point, right? Just 1 point for each pair. Now, your pen. Why? So he says that you go straight to the lesson, meaning that maybe you know what you are teaching. Am I right? Okay. So he says you go straight to the point, isn't it? Yes? Any other pair? Yes?
Yeah, time management.
Mm-hmm.
So the point is on time management.
Right, so good time management. Any? Yes?
Flow of ideas.
Sorry?
Flow of ideas.
A good flow of ideas, isn't it? Right, so there will be a good flow of ideas in the lesson. Yes? Right. So you will be able to provide the proper learning aids, isn't it? Any other? Yes, ma'am. So he says you know exactly what to teach. Any other? Yes? It gives you confidence, isn't it? So when you are delivering, you know exactly what you're talking about, you've got the confidence, you don't have any problem. Yes?
It reduces boredom and increases concentration span.
It reduces boredom.
And increases concentration on learners.
Increases concentration. Right, there are many. Yes? Okay, you are able to research widely. I'm sure wide research is part of the planning. Yes? So there are reasons, sorry, there are so many benefits of planning, yes. Okay, you are able to respond to questions, isn't it? So there are so many reasons, as we can see, why of the benefits of planning. Some of those we achieve our objectives, because when you have planned, you know what exactly you want to achieve, isn't it? When you are going into a lesson, we always have objectives to achieve. So if we plan our lessons well, we can achieve our objectives. It encourages reflection as well. That's in addition to what we have said. What we have said is correct, but we are also adding, it encourages reflection, refinement, and improvement. It enhances students' achievement because there is direction, there is proper direction. It helps the teacher to be more confident. Somebody has already said that. And you don't have any unpleasant surprises. Somebody says you can be able to answer questions. It's related to that, isn't it? Because you are not, you are prepared, you have studied, you understand. It keeps the teacher and students on track. So you need to be within what you are learning, within that topic throughout. So it keeps you in track and it provides direction to a substitute teacher. Suppose I'm not here, and I had my work well planned. Even if I happen not to come, somebody can still make a presentation, isn't it? During the week on Thursday, I felt very sick, and I thought I don't think I'll be able to go and present. So I had to contact the chair to say, I'm not well, but here is my presentation. Just in case of an emergency, somebody should be able to present it on my behalf. Why? Because I'm already prepared. I've already planned, and still somebody should be able to take over. So that's what we should do even in our classes. It provides the roadmap and visuals in a logical sequence. So those are some of the reasons, those are some of the benefits of planning for a lesson. You'd find that students won't wander around in class because we have prepared our lesson. Now, in your pairs again, just 1 minute, discuss the disadvantages of not planning. What is it that happens when we don't plan? We haven't planned, we go for a lesson. What is likely to happen? What could happen? Right, I can see there are groups that have already discussed. Yes? Sorry? Oh, off track. Right. Yes? Mm-hmm. Right, okay. Yes? You invite so many questions. Is there anything wrong with inviting questions? Sorry? answer them? When they come, you answer them? Or you struggle to answer questions? Okay. So you struggle to answer questions. What else? Yes? Okay, your students will lose trust. What else? Yes? How do they disappear? When they were there and then they disappear? Huh? You will not? Okay, you might not use your teaching. Okay, so maybe you might not, I'm not so sure whether you're saying maybe there is incorrect use of...
You go offline,
off topic, off track, eh?
Off track.
No, the point is you have the materials, but because you fail to plan, so you may have a lot of books here, and you don't use them, but you are still teaching. Those things, you get them so that you teach. You have a lot of knowledge, but just bringing them as a decoration.
Yes.
Because you didn't know when to use this and when to use that.
So you've gone off track, you don't know what you're doing, you just, yeah. Yes?
The class will be boring and not effective.
The class becomes boring. Yes?
There's time wasting.
There's a lot of time wasting. You said boring and ineffectiveness, isn't it? And time wasting. So we have a lot. I can see quite a lot of hands, but so that we move, otherwise we'll spend the whole day discussing these things. So there is a lot that happens, that goes wrong when we haven't planned properly. For example, the ones that we've already talked about, as well as there could be aimless wandering in class. Somebody has already talked about time wasting and few connections to prior learning. Somebody was talking about the teaching aids, isn't it? I'm sure we're talking about the same language there. Lack of needed materials. Because you haven't planned, you might not even bring the correct materials into the class. And frustration for the teacher and students. There's poor management in general, as well as unmet objectives, and you are usually very disorganized because you haven't planned. So there are so many things that happened. So we need to be well prepared for our lessons if we are going to teach. If you are not prepared, you would rather not go to class. Don't go and waste students' time in class and bring about confusion. So when you know you are not prepared, please don't even go to class. Is that fair? Is that a fair statement? Don't go to class if you haven't prepared. Stay home. Right, so we want to prepare. How do we prepare? We said we need to prepare, and we should not go to class if we are not prepared. How do we prepare for a class? How do we prepare for a class? Somebody says to be prepared is half the victory. When you prepare your lesson, you've already accomplished. Just by preparing, it makes everything else easier. How do we prepare for the class? Number one, we must know the material. So we need to take time to thoroughly examine and learn knowledge skills of your course. We need to have, in our case, a curriculum, which is our modules, isn't it? We've got our modules from friend to guide. Do we know them thoroughly? If I'm going to teach, do I just take that module and go and start reading? No. I have to learn thoroughly the material, and I should know the module thoroughly before I can go to class and teach. It's also important to know your students. That is part of preparing for a class. Know your students well. Your students have got weaknesses and strengths. So when we know them well, one, we know them by name. You know, it feels good when your teacher calls you by your name. I'm sure it doesn't feel good. For example, right now, I don't know you guys by name, and I'm just saying yes, yes. It's not as good as it feels if I knew your names and I would call you by your name. So the children feel the same way. They feel closer to the teacher, and they feel recognized by the teacher when the teacher knows them. And because you know them, they also want to please you. So it's important for you to know your children thoroughly, know them by name, also know their strengths, know their weaknesses, know where they struggle. So when you are preparing for a class, you know that, okay, this is the composition of my class. Who are they? Why are they here? Each child is there for a purpose. I'm sure just like in church, we are all here for different purposes. And these children are also there for different purposes. Why are they here? What are their needs? Am I satisfying their needs in my planning? We are teaching a curriculum for life. The curriculum that we teach is supposed to be their way of life, isn't it? It's not just theory, but we should make it part of their living. So are we satisfying their needs? And how can the class feel their needs? So ask yourself all those questions as you plan for them. You know that, do you know that there are some times when you know that there's a child who has come to class and they haven't eaten? How can we help them as a class, as a teacher? Are they going to be able to concentrate on a hungry tummy? So have their needs been satisfied first? So let us know them very well as we plan for the lessons. We also need to skim. Skimming is basically long-term planning. To say, okay, maybe by the end of this month, this is what I'm going to cover, isn't it? So we know that from this point to that date, I will have covered this amount of work. So we need to skim. Right, we also need to plan for each lesson. When we plan for each lesson, we are able to gather our materials, our teaching aids in good time, in advance of time. Right, number 5, we need to make our lessons interesting. How do we make our lessons interesting? They must be engaging. They must connect the students to the real world. So that globe there, I'm talking of the real world, the connections that we make between the theory that we teach them and the real world. If we are talking of serving others, make it practical. Don't make teaching within the 4 walls. Like in here, we're just talking, isn't it? This is very theoretical. But we need to go out of the building, out of the classroom with our children. Go out and experience real life. If we are serving others, probably we are going to visit their friends who are in need. Probably we are going to visit the sick with them, and so on, isn't it? Helping others. So they are living that. Maybe they bring little things from home. Maybe they might have clothes that they were using. They can ask their parents to say, may I go and donate this? So they've made the theory practical. Right, so we are connecting the theory to real life. And we also need to vary our teaching methods. There are some people who will go into the classroom and they start reading from the manual. It's not acceptable. And children, by the way, and I want to think that even adults, if you are going to sit in here and listen to me speak throughout and you don't speak, is it not boring? It. And with children, you would find that they, So we need to know that people learn better by doing than by listening. Right? A child remembers 10% of what he reads. Make the children read, they will only remember 10%. Excuse me, sorry. Then they will remember 20% of what they hear, 30% of what they see, 50% of what they hear and see. And they'll remember 70% of what they say. And they will remember 90% of what he does. So what does this mean to us? Just that statement, what does it mean? Or what is the implication to us? Is it making any sense? What does that mean to us? What is the implication? What then must we do in our planning?
More practical than theory.
Yes, more practical than theory. So they must do things. They must say things. Our teaching must be full of activity. So they must be more practical because that is what they will remember more. I'm sure for most of you who said something, you will not forget what you said. But if you just come and listen, you forget most of the things. So as we are teaching our classes, we must continually check for understanding. We have taught, we have connected our theory to the real world. Now we must continue to check for understanding to make sure that our students have understood. How do we check for understanding? How do we know that our children have understood what we were teaching them? Yes? We can give them assessments in the form of, it could be a test, it could be questions, answers in class, like I'm doing, I'm asking you questions and you are failing to answer. So I think you haven't understood anything. Yes? Oral questions. Yes? Anything else? Right, so we ask questions and we encourage responses. We also need, in the end, to assess them and evaluate our teaching. So then we say we have finished teaching, we have handled the class well, and because it was full of activities, it was well planned. The greater the structure of a lesson and the more precise the directions on what is to be accomplished, the higher the achievement rate. I wish you all the best. Thank you so much. So basically, I hope we have gotten something. Do we have any questions before I leave on how to handle a class? Yes. Okay, the chairman is here. The director is here, so they are asking for Mabunziro in Chichewa.
Thank you very much for the question. I think the Kanimene Ambiri Amaidandala si Bali Okai or this one Nazona, if you're not to face, not just almost as Yane. And Namaiki Mabogo Ambiri. Our level of understanding is different. So many other Bangira curriculum here, Pathfinder, even the adventure. The only way to find to is Monola. For many Mujaring, Passa Mutu, Sobo, many Makalira complete what you show. Come here, you don't not to mark some figures. So I think you will present it to the executive and you discuss about it. Then we'll come up with a response on that one.